Wesley Fofana got his move, Simon.
Indeed,
Late last
he did.
night, he moved from Leicester to Chelsea, £69.5 million. Simon, what about this, though? It's a 7-year deal.
Yep.
How wise is that?
That's what Bowley said he was going to do, didn't he?
Yeah, what Bowley said he would do. But this is the same Wesley Fofana, who at St Etienne agitated for a move to Leicester. And then at Leicester, in recent days, has been doing this virtually the same thing.
But the departure of an upward direction is much smaller from Chelsea elsewhere. From St Etienne to Leicester is a step up. From Leicester to Chelsea is a step up. There's only a couple more steps up you can go from Chelsea. Maybe in Real Madrid, because there seems to be this lure from Chelsea to Real Madrid. He signed him on a 7-year contract because that's what he believes is the model. That's what he believes you need to do to securitise the value of players on your balance sheet and to ensure that you've got a roster that you know where you stand with. And
Do you think he's right in doing that? Say he catches the eye in the next 2 years and both Barcelona and Real Madrid come in for him. Imagine 2 years in, the same Wesley Fofana. Are you kidding me? With 5 years left in his deal?
I would imagine there's also a release clause in there. I would imagine there's a maturity around that positioning as well, so that ultimately they control their own destiny and build in some sort of release clause that actually might match the escalation of the transfer market. With all things being said, you know, they've got a strategy. That strategy will be proved to be right or wrong, but they're owning their own thinking. They've changed their policy around how they buy players currently, which is we'll pay whatever someone wants. And they were becoming a little bit more prudent in the way they bought towards the back end of Abramovich's career, ownership of Chelsea. It's not his career. And they're also looking at the longevity of contractual situations and believing, like Americans tend to do, that when they land in your marketplace, they know better than you. So they'll project their views about, and next thing you know, they'll be talking about drafts. But the bottom line is that they've got him on 7 years, and never was there a more deserving case. And Wesley Fofana, what a delight he is. I ooze respect for him.
Well, I mean, on that very subject, he takes to Instagram last night. Brendan Rodgers, of course, is telling us that the same Wesley wasn't really in the right frame of mind, and that there was that picture that we all saw in the newspapers of him sitting there watching Leicester in action with his girlfriend beside him as he looked on from the stand. He wasn't in the right frame of mind to play. This is what we were told. And then the same Fofana late on Instagram, Simon, last night, thanks to the coach.
Yep.
Brendan, who's always appreciated me, even if he chose to expose me a lot lately. What's your take on that? He has a swipe at Brendan as he heads out the exit door. After he gets what he wants, after he gets a 7-year deal, after he's sold for 69.5 mil.
We are in a territory, as I repeatedly say, of the lunatics running the asylum, and the players being able to say what they want, when they want, how they want, do what they want, not ultimately sit at the table like Mbappe and choose who the coach is, and eventually end up running the game. That'll be something we can all look forward to, wonderful, so we can all find out what they won't do then, because that's their main prerequisite for sitting at tables. But what he's done is, there's either dark arts at play here with Brendan, where Brendan has been slightly cute because he's trying to put pressure back on his own people by dropping this kid out of the equation because the kid might not be in a perfect frame of mind, and maybe he was, and Brendan's used him as an opportunity to make a point with the balls. I'm more inclined, and not because of the management structure where you're likely to think the manager is your champion and as a former owner, to believe Brendan Rodgers because this kid has form. If you've done it once before, then the indication are that there's going to be some substance behind you doing it again, albeit it's an easy hat for you to hang. It's an easy hanger for you to hang your hat on because you can easily tar that kid with that brush.
Yeah.
But the fact that he couldn't just accept the fact that he's got precisely what he wanted, he had to have a sly observation on the way out.
Well, he did sound, and that's not all. He said, I chose not to communicate during this transfer window despite all the criticism and all the often false and misleading comments, even when they were coming from the club.
Yeah, no, I've seen the statement, and it is well, that's not sly, that's explicit, isn't it? That's basically saying you're a bunch of liars and you hung me out to dry. And I'm not involved in this. I'm a good little boy that was prepared to do precisely what I was asked. And unfortunately, you guys have made me a much maligned character and have besmirched me. I didn't do anything wrong at St Etienne by that logic either. Look, the bottom line is this is the nature of football. What we're seeing is the power of players becoming more and more something that is difficult to control. I'm not suggesting that players should be proles. I'm not suggesting that they should all march in line. This is 1984. What I am suggesting is that there is an element of you need to control the environments that players play in, otherwise you'll have anarchy. And you see it too often, players get managers out, and that should never really be the way. It shouldn't be a given that players can down tools, get managers out, and ultimately change the direction of a football club because they don't like something.
Yeah.
And Wesley Fofana, I think, would have been better served being a little bit magnanimous about it, rather than feeling he needed to even up scores.